Okay, so today we're telling a story about a stage. But this wasn't just any stage, it was the absolute heart of a community, a cultural hub that literally fought for its life against the crushing forces of 20th century history. Let's dive into the incredible, and yeah, ultimately tragic, story of Arad's lost Hungarian theater. This quote right here, wow, written back in 1935, it just perfectly nails the central conflict. See, after World War I, the whole map of Europe was redrawn. And for the Hungarian community in the city of Arad, which was now part of Romania, their entire cultural life turned into this constant, grueling struggle for survival against political pressure. So how did it get so bad? I mean, on paper, everything looked okay. The new Romanian state had promised tolerance and cultural freedom to all its minorities. But, as you can probably guess, for the Hungarian theater in Arad, the promise and the reality were two very different things.
I mean, look at this. The contrast is just so stark, isn't it? On one side, you have this big promise of cultural autonomy. But what was happening in reality? Well, every single play had to get through a government censor. There was absolutely no state support, zero. And constant harassment just became the norm. That promise of freedom? Yeah, it turned out to be completely hollow, really fast.
In this chart, it really paints a picture of the financial side of things. Between the wars, Romanian theaters got a pretty hefty state subsidy. We're talking 120 million lei. So how much did the Hungarian theaters get? You guessed it, a big fat zero. Not a single leu. They were completely on their own, just trying to keep the lights on in a system that was basically designed to work against them. But wait, it actually gets worse. It wasn't just that there was no support, there was active punishment. On top of everything else, Hungarian theaters were forced to pay a 26% tax to the state. And get this, Romanian language theaters were completely exempt from it. So this wasn't just neglect, right? The system was set up to actively penalize them, pretty much just for existing. And the pressure wasn't just about money. No, it was physical and psychological too. Just try to picture this. An actress gets arrested for espionage right in the middle of her performance. Or a show is a massive hit one night, and the very next day it's shut down by police and cavalry. And the reason they gave? The audience applauded too much, so it was a nationalist demonstration. This goes way beyond bureaucracy. This is straight up intimidation. But here's the thing. Despite all of this, the community did not give up. The 2 decades between the world wars turned into this incredible drama of survival. You can really think of it as a story in 3 acts. First came the decline, then this powerful moment of resilience, and finally a brief, brilliant rebirth. So let's break down how this actually played out. In the beginning, there was this gradual decline as the theaters just couldn't handle the pressure. But then you see this period of self-organization, where the community itself stepped up to save its stage. And that all led to this brief renaissance, a moment of just unbelievable artistic success against all the odds, all sparked by one key organization. And that organization was called Thalia RT. So what was it? Well, it was basically a joint stock company started by cultural leaders who wanted to create and pay for a truly professional theater. Their whole mission was to elevate their art form and, as one supporter put it, to be a school of the Hungarian spirit. This was the community grabbing the reins and taking its cultural destiny into its own hands. It's pretty amazing. And the ingenuity here is just off the charts. When the main theater was finally forced to close in 1939, you'd think, okay, that's it, it's over. But nope. 2 actors absolutely refused to let the stage go dark. They went out, bought a small company, found a big hall in a cafe, and built a brand new 330-seat theater from scratch. I mean, that level of determination is just unstoppable. Okay, so with all this political struggle going on in the background, what were people actually lining up to see? Let's shift gears a little bit, away from the fight for survival, and talk about the artists and the shows that were lighting up that stage and bringing people in night after night. If you look at a typical week's schedule, you see something really fascinating. About 90% of the shows were lighthearted operettas and comedies. What does that tell you? It tells you that in a time of incredible hardship, the theater was an escape. It was a place for entertainment and for joy. Sure, classical drama had its place, but the real heart of the repertoire was music and laughter. And of course, every great stage needs its stars. One of the most famous to ever come out of Arad was Zilahi Irain. Her life, wow, it's like a play all on its own. It perfectly captures both the incredible highs and the devastating lows of this whole era. So her talent was spotted right there in Arad. She became a huge local star pretty quickly, and then her career just took off like a rocket. Soon she was on the biggest stages in Budapest, Vienna. She even had a film career in Paris. But her story has a really tragic ending. She retired from the stage while she was still young and was killed during the bombing of Budapest in 1944, just a shining light completely extinguished by the war. This quote from another beloved actor, Fekete Mihaly, really gets to the heart of what made this theater so special. It was never just a business, you know? It was this deep, personal connection between the performers and the community. The audience's love, that was the fuel. That's what kept the stage alive through all those incredibly hard times. So after all the chaos of World War II, there was this little glimmer of hope. But a new ideology was sweeping across Eastern Europe. And for the Hungarian theater in Arad, this was going to be its final tragic act. So how did the final curtain actually fall? Well, it wasn't a sudden thing. It was more like a slow, deliberate process. First, things looked good. A revival in 1945 with both Romanian and Hungarian sections. But then, the new communist regime demanded ideological control, forcing them to perform mandatory Soviet plays. And then came the really degrading part. A commission from Bucharest made the Hungarian actors take this bizarre elementary-level exam. And that was the excuse they needed. Citing the actors' supposed poor performance, the commission permanently suspended the Hungarian section. And just like that, it was over. The local communist newspaper didn't even print a single word about a 30-year-old cultural institution being closed. No farewell, no acknowledgement, nothing. Just a cold announcement that a new Romanian state theater was being established. A whole vibrant history just erased. You have to understand, the closure wasn't just the end of a theater company. It was the beginning of a long, long cultural silence and the scattering of an entire artistic community. And with that, the lights went out. For the first time in decades, the city's Hungarian community had no professional stage to call its own. And that silence would last for more than 50 years. 50! Half a century. Just think about that for a second. Entire generations grew up in Arad without ever getting to experience the kind of local, professional Hungarian theater that their parents and grandparents had fought so incredibly hard to keep alive. So what happened to the artists themselves? This is where you really see the human cost. The whole company was just dismantled. Some actors got transferred, others were thrown in prison without a trial. These were people who dedicated their entire lives to the stage, and now they were forced to find new work. As a cook, a dance instructor, an unskilled laborer, a clerk, an entire artistic community just gone. Let's go back to that powerful idea from the theater's Renaissance period. It was supposed to be a school of the Hungarian spirit, a guardian of language and culture. So when it was finally silenced, Arad lost so much more than just a place for entertainment. It really lost a vital part of its soul. You know, the story of Arad's theater might feel like a local one, but it asks a question that's completely universal, one that echoes throughout history. What is truly lost when a culture's stage goes dark?